Welcome to the Library of Dreams. Find a comfortable position. Allow your breathing to slow and let the day gently fade away. Tonight's story is a quiet continuation, a place of warmth, wonder, and rest. There is nothing you need to do now but listen. It seemed to emanate from a figure standing among the floating books. Stephen turned, his curiosity sharpening in the way it always did when confronted with something entirely new, yet strangely familiar. They're moving with grace and gentle purpose was a figure that seemed woven from light itself. Its form shimmered, not human, yet unmistakably aware, radiating calm and intelligence in equal measure. The figure's presence did not command, it welcomed. "Welcome, Stephen Fry," said a voice that was both everywhere and nowhere, soft yet resonant like the echoes of every story he had ever read or narrated. It did not startle him. Instead, it felt familiar, like an old melody remembered after a long time. "We have been expecting you." Stephen swallowed, his throat dry with awe. I'm honored." He whispered the words, barely audible, but carried with the weight of sincerity. He felt neither fear nor doubt, only a deep, warming sense of rightness. The quiet of the library, the hum of the books, the gentle glow surrounding him, it all aligned as though his entire life had been quietly preparing him for this moment. "You have spent your life giving voice to stories," the figure continued, moving closer with a fluid grace, "and in doing so, you have done more than narrate. You have healed, comforted, and guided, but there are stories still waiting, stories that drift in the spaces between waking and dreaming, stories that cannot find their rest without your voice." Stephen felt a shiver of understanding. This was more than recognition, this was purpose made tangible. He had always known that words had power, that tone and cadence could comfort a listener in ways nothing else could, but to see that power given shape, that his voice could reach beyond ordinary reality to a place as sacred as this, it was overwhelming in its serenity. He walked forward, letting his instincts guide him. Between the floating shelves, books shifted gently around him, creating passages where none had existed moments before. It was as if the library itself was alive and aware of his presence. Every movement, every breath he took felt connected to the space, each step resonating softly against the unseen currents of stories waiting to be heard. "Do you understand why you are here?" the figure asked, its voice like soft wind stirring leaves. "The Library of Dreams calls only to those who can carry their voice without hurry, without pretense. Only those who listen deeply can give these stories their true rest." Stephen nodded slowly, a quiet humility settling over him. "I think I do," he said, his voice steady despite the awe flooding him. "I have always believed stories can heal. Perhaps this is the place where that belief must become action." The figure inclined its luminous head. "Then come. The library awaits you." And in that moment, Stephen understood the rhythm of the place. The hush, the glow, the floating books, all of it was awaiting embrace. He stepped forward willingly, a storyteller entering the most sacred of auditoriums, the space where dreams themselves lived, where unfinished tales and unspoken hopes waited for the right voice to guide them home. Every instinct told him that this journey was only beginning. Each whispering book, each shimmer of light, each pulse of warmth beneath his feet spoke to him in subtle, profound ways. And as he began walking deeper into the library, Stephen Fry felt a peace unlike any other, the peace of alignment, purpose, and quiet, one of a kind that sinks deep into the bones and lingers even when the world calls you back to ordinary life. He did not yet know what stories awaited him or how he would use his voice to reach them, but one truth had become clear: he had been chosen, and the Library of Dreams had welcomed him home. And with that understanding, he inhaled the warm, scented air, closed his eyes for a brief moment, and listened. The library was whispering to him softly, gently, intimately. And Stephen Fryvoy's poised, heart open, soul calm was ready to answer as Stephen stepped. Further into the library of dreams, a soft glow surrounded him like a protective embrace. The space was enormous, far larger than any building he had ever entered in the waking world. Shelves stretched toward an unseen ceiling, bending and curving in gentle flowing arcs. That seemed impossible, yet natural books floated silently between the stacks, occasionally opening to reveal faintly glowing pages, each page pulsed with a rhythm that Stephen felt more than heard, as though every story carried a heartbeat waiting for recognition. The air was warm and fragrant with the subtle scent of old paper, honey, and lavender. It was the smell of calm, the smell of quiet assurance, the smell of a place that existed precisely to cradle the dreams of those who had yet to wake. Stephen inhaled slowly, allowing the aroma to fill him, to center him, and to remind him that he was exactly where he was meant to be. "You are ready," the luminous figure whispered, appearing beside him as if it had never moved. Its presence was gentle, radiant, and quiet. "The library awaits your voice. There is one story tonight that needs you more than any other." Stephen paused, feeling a quiet thrill. He did not yet know what that meant, how a story could need him, but the words stirred something deep in his restless and uneasy. Yet within that village, a solitary lantern burned steadily in a small window. Children leaned close to it, listening. Adults paused in their work. Every person who heard the lantern's quiet glow felt a momentary peace, a gentle reminder that light could exist even in the longest night. As Stephen read, the book seemed to respond to his inflections, his pauses, the subtle cadence of his voice. The letters shimmered brighter, and the story began to take form in the air around him. Images appeared like soft living projections. The village streets, golden lanterns swaying in the evening wind, the faces of villagers illuminated by warm light. Stephen could see them clearly, yet they were not solid. They shimmered like dreams within a dream, existing only in the moment he gave them voice. And then he noticed something extraordinary. The story was not merely being told. It was healing. Each sentence he spoke seemed to soothe the unrest of the village, the invisible weight of unfinished dreams lifting as he continued. The air itself seemed to hum softly, vibrating with relief. Stephen realized that the library was not just a repository of stories. It was a sanctuary for the emotions and hopes of the world, for the dreams left incomplete in quiet moments of human life. A warmth spread through him, deep and luminous, as he understood that this was why he had been called here. His voice was not merely narration. It was a bridge between the written word and the quiet hearts waiting in the spaces between reality and dreams. Each inflection, each breath, each gentle pause brought the story closer to completion, bringing comfort to those who had once been unable to finish it themselves. Time passed in a slow, fluid rhythm. Minutes or hours, he could not tell, for the library existed outside ordinary constraints. Stephen continued, each word deliberate, tender, and filled with empathy. He allowed himself to be completely present in the act of telling. And in that presence, the library responded. The story's light expanded, enveloping him, the hovering books, the shelves themselves, until the gentle glow of the tale suffused the entire space. Finally, as the last lines settled into place, the book closed softly, floating back to its shelf with a delicate sigh. The glow faded, leaving only a faint shimmer in the air where the story had lived. Stephen leaned back slightly, his chest still rising and falling with the weight and warmth of what he had just accomplished. The figure beside him inclined its luminous head. "You have done well," it said. "The first story rests peacefully thanks to your voice. Many more await, and each one will call upon your patience, your care, and your understanding. But never forget, you do not merely narrate, you soothe, you hold, you complete what cannot be finished without you." Stephen nodded slowly, a quiet smile touching his lips. He felt the truth of the figure's words in the marrow of his bones. He understood more deeply than ever the responsibility and the beauty of the gift he had been given. His voice was not a tool to entertain or to impress. It was a light in the darkness, a harbor for lost dreams, a comfort to souls he might never meet. And in that moment, standing in the vast glowing library of dreams, Stephen Fry felt a profound peace. It was not merely the calm that comes from accomplishment or recognition. It was the kind of quiet, abiding serenity that comes from being exactly where one is meant to be. Every whispering book, every shimmering light, every floating page resonated with that truth. For the first time in his life, he felt the fullness of his purpose, and with a gentle exhale, he stepped forward again, ready to answer the call of the next story's library of dreams had grown familiar to Stephen Fry in the gentle, silent way that only truly magical places can. Every step through its glowing aisles, every pause among floating shelves reminded him that he was part of something far larger than ordinary life. Here stories lived and breathed, each carrying fragments of heart's memories and dreams that had not yet found rest. But tonight a different feeling stirred in the library, subtle at first, like the faint quiver of a candle's flame in a still room. It wasn't the gentle anticipation he had felt with the first story. No, this was heavier, more insistent, a soft murmur of unrest threaded through the floating books, vibrating faintly in the air around him. Stephen paused, letting the warmth of the glowing floor ground him. As he listened, Stephen said the luminous figure that had guided him before materializing beside him with a soft radiance. "There is one story that has waited longer than any other. It has lingered at the edges of sleep, unanswered and incomplete. and it will require your full attention. Stephen felt a shiver, not of fear, but of awe. He had already witnessed the quiet, miraculous power of giving voice to stories. Yet he sensed that this particular tale was different. It carried weight beyond narrative. It carried emotion, unfinished longing, and memories of moments that the world had not yet fully understood. Where is it? He asked softly. The figure gestured, and a path opened before him. It was narrower than the paths he had taken before, the golden light dimmer, tinged with a soft blue that felt like the edge of twilight. The books along this all trembled slightly as he approached, their whispers harmonizing into a low hum. Stephen walked slowly, feeling the stories brush past him, as though sensing the urgency of the one he sought. At the end of the aisle, floating gently above a shelf, was the story itself. It glowed with a muted melancholy light, soft silver tinged with pale blue. Its cover was unremarkable, yet it pulsed as though it carried a heartbeat. Stephen reached out, and as his fingers brushed the surface, a wave of emotion washed over him. The story was heavy with longing. It was a tale of love and loss, of small, tender moments, unspoken, of laughter and tears left lingering in the shadows. It had waited far too long for someone to hear it properly, and it seemed to recognize Stephen, instantly drawing him closer with invisible threads that tugged gently at his heart. He opened the book. The words shimmered faintly, rearranging themselves subtly, as if aware of his presence. Stephen began to read, his voice soft, measured, carrying the weight of the story's sorrow and hope alike as he spoke. He felt the library respond in kind, the floating books pulsing with light, the air vibrating gently, the warm scent of parchment and honey deepening. The story told of two people who had loved each other quietly, without words, without declarations, carrying their affection through small acts of kindness and shared silences. Yet fate had kept them apart, and they had never fully expressed the depth of their feelings. The narrative pulsed with what had been lost, what had been missed, and what lingered eternally in the quiet spaces between. As Stephen read, he felt tears welling in his own eyes, not for the story's sadness alone, but for the beauty of the lives it captured. He realized that giving voice to this tale required more than narrating. It required feeling every whispered hope, every unspoken word, every tender fleeting moment. And so he let himself feel, letting the story guide him with the gentle authority that only truth and empathy can give. The words flowed from him like a river of light. Every pause, every inflection, every soft sigh brought the story closer to fulfillment. He read the laughter and the quiet moments, the gentle gestures of love, the fleeting touches, and the lingering glances. And with each sentence, the story itself seemed to breathe, its silver and blue glow brightening slightly, as if finally sensing that it was being heard fully, completely. Hours seemed to pass without time passing at all. Stephen remained immersed in the story, the library surrounding him with a calm, supportive presence. He did not tire, nor did his voice waver, for he knew that to falter would leave the story restless. The weight of the tale pressed gently on his chest, not in oppression, but in responsibility, reminding him of the sacred task before him. And then slowly, softly, the story began to conclude. The two characters, long separated and shy, finally acknowledged their affection. In a small, quiet moment, a touch, a shared smile, a hand clasped over another. The glow of the book shifted from silver and blue to a soft, warm gold, like dawn breaking gently over a quiet village. The library itself seemed to exhale in relief, the murmuring books settling into a harmonious silence. Stephen closed the book with the utmost care. He felt a deep, encompassing peace, a quiet joy that shimmered through every cell of his body. The story, long restless, had finally found its conclusion, its rest, its home, and Stephen knew that he had played a part in a miracle that was invisible to the ordinary world. The invisible mending of hearts through the power of a voice willing to listen. And carry a story fully, the luminous figure appeared once more, its glow gentle and approving. You have done well, Stephen Fry. Not every voice could have completed this story. It required patience, compassion, and a willingness to feel. Remember this. Your gift is not entertainment, it is restoration. Every story you voice is a chance to bring peace where it was once absent. Stephen nodded, a smile tugging gently at his lips. He felt a calmness that was almost sacred, a sense of being exactly where he was meant to be doing. Exactly what he was meant to do. The library of dreams had shown him that his voice was not merely a tool for narration, but a vessel for healing, a bridge between the seen and the unseen, between longing and fulfillment. As he stepped away from the glowing story, he realized that the library held countless more like its stories, waiting patiently for voices that would treat them with respect, patience, and love. And he knew quietly but deeply that he was ready to continue. He was ready to give his voice fully, without hurry, without pride, without interruption, to all the stories that had yet to find rest. For in this magical eternal library, Stephen Fry understood at last the true power of his gift. Not the recognition of the world, not the accolades or awards, not even the fame that might come with it, but the ability to give solace, to cradle dreams, to bring completion and peace through the simple, profound act of reading aloud. And with that understanding, he breathed in the soft, honeyed air, exhaled slowly, and stepped forward once more, ready for the next story, ready for the next heartbeat of the library of dreams. The library of dreams was no longer a strange place to Stephen Fry. It had begun to feel like a second home. The warmth under his feet, the gentle glow of floating books, and the faint whisper of countless stories had become comforting companions, each step filling him with quiet certainty. Yet tonight there was a new current in the air, a subtle tension, like the soft pause before a piano note resolves a challenge. Waiting patiently for him to arrive, the luminous figure appeared beside him. As always, its presence calm and unwavering. Stephen, it said gently, there is a story tonight that will ask more of you than any before. It will test not your skill, but your heart. Are you prepared to listen fully? Stephen inhaled slowly, feeling a flutter of anticipation and a quiet tremor of unease. He had been reading and completing stories for some time, now bringing peace and rest to narratives long unresolved, but something in the figure's tone, soft yet grave, told him that this story would demand more than mere reading. It would require empathy beyond measure, a willingness to immerse himself in pain and longing without losing his own calm. I am ready, he said, his voice steady, though a part of him knew that this task would stretch him in ways he had not yet experienced. The figure gestured forward, and a narrow path of soft pale light opened between shelves that seemed taller than usual, stretching infinitely upward. The floating books along the aisle trembled, gently whispering in a language Stephen could feel more than hear. Each whisper carried fragments of emotion, regret, hope, loss, love, and the quiet ache of stories waiting for understanding. At the end of the aisle hovered the story that awaited him. It was larger than the others, its cover a deep indigo, shimmering faintly as if reflecting the night sky. Its glow was soft but intense, pulsing in a rhythm that seemed almost like a heartbeat, irregular at times, as though the story itself had been waiting far too long. Stephen reached for the book, and the moment his fingers brushed its cover, a wave of emotion washed over him. This was not a story of gentle longing or simple peace. It was a tale of sorrow, of separation, of love stretched thin across years, and distance it carried the weight of unspoken words and missed chances, the quiet ache of hearts, yearning for reconciliation as he opened the book. The words shimmered faintly, arranging themselves in subtle patterns that reached directly into his heart. He began to read aloud, his voice soft and deliberate, carrying every syllable with care. The story's essence was intricate. A friendship once unbreakable, now strained by misunderstanding. A family torn by secrets. A love that had been silenced by fear and circumstance. Every line trembled with unfulfilled longing, and Stephen felt it deeply. He did not shy away from the story's pain. Instead, he let it enter him fully, allowing his voice to become a vessel for its emotion. He read the moments of hesitation and regret, the quiet confessions whispered too late, the gestures of care that had gone unnoticed. And as he did, the library responded in subtle, magical ways. The floating books pulsed with soft light, and a gentle hum filled the air, as though the library itself was holding its breath in support. Hours passed, yet time seemed irrelevant. Stephen's voice carried the story forward, with gentle determination, bringing clarity and understanding to every unresolved moment. He paused occasionally, inhaling slowly, letting the weight of the story settle, then continued with renewed care. Each pause was deliberate, allowing the story's emotions to breathe, allowing the unseen listeners in the library to absorb its essence fully. At one point, Stephen felt a surge of emotion so powerful that he nearly faltered. The story's characters were trapped in years of unspoken feelings, their lives intersecting and diverging in quiet pain. He realized that to finish this story properly, he had to embrace its sorrow, to feel its depth without being overcome. He closed his eyes, took a deep, centering breath, and let empathy guide his voice. Each word he spoke became a gentle balm, soothing the tension and grief embedded in the narrative. Slowly, the story began to transform under his care. The indigo glow softened, the pulse became steady, and images began to emerge in the air. A garden where old friends reunited, a window where a long-lost family member finally returned, hands clasping in quiet reconciliation. The library shimmered around him, responding to the healing unfolding in the tale. Stephen realized that this story required not only a voice, but patience, humility, and the courage to remain present amidst deep emotion. As he approached the final lines, the story's tension lifted, leaving behind a calm, profound sense of resolution. The characters, once divided by miscommunication and fear, finally found understanding, their connections mending gently like threads woven back into a tapestry. The indigo cover glowed softly one last time before settling into a peaceful, steady light. Stephen closed the book carefully, feeling a quiet exhaustion mixed with deep satisfaction. He had been tested, yet he had emerged calm, present, and profoundly moved. The library seemed to hum around him, a gentle affirmation of the story's completion. The luminous figure appeared once more. "You have done more than narrate, Stephen Fry," it said. "You have carried the weight of hearts, the ache of longing, and the fragile beauty of reconciliation not every voice could have met this challenge. Your gift is rare, because you give yourself fully to what is needed without hesitation or pride." Stephen nodded slowly, feeling the truth of the words settle into him. His voice was not simply a tool of storytelling, it was a conduit for restoration, for reconciliation, for gentle understanding. Each story he touched, each emotion he carried, became a quiet healing in the world beyond the library. He stepped away from the indigo story, inhaling the warm, honeyed air, feeling the gentle pulse of the library beneath his feet. Though the challenge had been immense, he was more certain than ever that this was his purpose: to lend his voice to the unseen, to comfort the unresolved, to bring peace where it had been absent. And with a quiet exhale, Stephen Fry continued walking through the aisles of glowing books, ready for the next story. Ready for the next heartbeat of the Library of Dreams. The Library of Dreams had begun to feel almost like a living companion to Stephen Fry. Every shelf, every floating book, every gentle shimmer of light seemed aware of his presence. As if the library itself breathed in quiet harmony with him, the glow of the shelves pulsed softly beneath his feet, and the whispers of untold stories seemed to acknowledge his steps. With gentle approval, each story he had read had left its echo in the air, a soft vibration that lingered like the faint hum of a remembered lullaby. Yet tonight, there was a new quality to the library, a subtle, delicate instruction woven into the light and the soft murmurs of hovering books. It was not a story that waited for him this time, but a lesson about how every tale, every narrative he had carried was more than words. They were reflections of hearts, fragments of memory, glimpses of hope and fear, love and sorrow stitched together in the quiet spaces where the waking world rarely lingered. Stephen paused in the middle of a glowing aisle, inhaling the warm honeyed air, and allowed himself to feel the resonance of the library. There was a gentle hum beneath his feet, now a rhythm almost like a heartbeat. Each heartbeat seemed to correspond to a subtle shimmer of a story nearby, pulsing softly as if the library itself were alive. "You have begun to understand," said the luminous figure appearing beside him with its familiar soft radiance. "But the library holds more than stories, it holds truths. And these truths must be felt, not merely spoken." Stephen nodded, the words settling into his consciousness like a soft snowflake landing on still water. He had understood the importance of giving voice to the stories, but now he sensed there was something deeper. He needed to perceive the lessons the library offered, to feel the quiet wisdom encoded in each tale, and to let it transform him as fully as he transformed the stories themselves. The figure gestured ahead, and a small glowing book floated gently toward him. Its cover was a soft shade of amber, radiating warmth. The book hovered, inviting him to open it, not just with his hands, but with his awareness. Stephen did so carefully, letting the story settle into his mind before he began to speak. The tale was simple, almost deceptively so. It spoke of a village that had been long forgotten by time, where the inhabitants carried burdens of expectation, fear, and unspoken regret. Nothing extraordinary happened in the narrative, no dramatic twists or magical interventions. And yet, as Stephen read aloud, he felt the subtle rhythm of human lives, the quiet bravery of small acts,